Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something I bet you've been hearing a lot about lately.
A lot about lately, yeah.
Norovirus.
Yeah.
Seems like it's everywhere in the UK at the moment.
Hmm.
So we've got a whole bunch of news articles, some recent health advice, even a clip from a BBC Health segment
Oh, wow.
to try to figure out what's actually going on, how worried should we be,
Yeah.
and what can we actually do about it.
Right.
So,
Well, it's interesting. We're seeing a
yeah,
real surge in cases
yeah.
on top of the usual kind of seasonal uptick we see.
Yeah, norovirus cases have jumped up like 16% in just the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
And the main culprit seems to be this new variant from Japan
Right.
called Kawasaki,
Kawasaki,
which the UK Health Security Agency is monitoring closely.
Yeah.
And that's just based on lab-confirmed cases, so
Right.
the actual number of people dealing with this is probably way higher.
Yeah, that's an important point, isn't it? Because not everyone's going to get tested, especially with something that often resolves on its own.
Okay, so let's talk about this Kawasaki variant.
Yeah.
What makes it different? And should we be more concerned about this than other strains of norovirus?
I think that's the question on everyone's mind at the moment.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the answer is we're still figuring that out.
Okay.
The research is ongoing,
Yeah.
but it does seem to be spreading more quickly than some other strains.
Okay.
Whether it causes more severe illness,
Yeah.
that's still being investigated.
So what should we be watching out for symptom-wise?
So the classic symptoms you're going to be looking for are things like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea,
Oh, lovely.
stomach cramps.
Right.
Some people might also experience a low-grade fever, chills, headache, and muscle aches as well.
Oh, it sounds pretty rough.
Yeah,
And we know that it spreads like wildfire,
it does.
but how can you tell if you've got norovirus or just like a bad case of food poisoning?
Yeah, that's a really good question because the symptoms can overlap, right?
Right.
But one difference is the timing. Okay. So norovirus symptoms tend to show up maybe 12 hours to 8 days after you've been exposed.
Wow. Okay.
Whereas food poisoning tends to hit much faster.
Yeah.
Often within 2 to 6 hours after eating something that's contaminated.
So if you're feeling ill, like a couple of hours after that dodgy takeaway,
Yeah.
food poisoning is probably the more likely culprit.
Probably. Yeah.
But if it hits you like a day or two later,
Right.
could be norovirus.
Could be. Yeah. Definitely worth considering that.
What if you think you do have norovirus? Is there anything you can do to treat it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a matter of just riding it out?
Unfortunately, there's no specific treatment for norovirus.
Okay.
It usually runs its course within 1 to 3 days.
Right.
However, and this is really important, staying hydrated is absolutely crucial.
Right.
Vomiting and diarrhea can lead to dehydration, which can be especially dangerous for young children, older adults, people with weakened immune systems.
Yeah.
So it's really important to just keep sipping on fluids regularly, even if it's just small amounts at a time.
Okay.
Clear broth and electrolyte drinks can be good options there as well.
Solid advice.
Yeah,
Staying hydrated's key with any kind of stomach bug.
absolutely.
What about medications? Anything you can take?
So you can take over-the-counter pain relievers, like paracetamol,
Right.
can help with fever and aches. But I generally say it's best to avoid ibuprofen
Okay.
because it can sometimes further irritate the stomach.
Okay, so we've covered treating the symptoms.
Hmm.
What about preventing norovirus in the first place?
Yeah.
What are the best ways to avoid catching it at all?
Well, prevention is key with norovirus.
Yeah.
And really, your best defense is frequent and thorough hand washing.
Good old soap and water.
Yeah.
But is hand sanitizer good enough?
So while hand sanitizer is helpful for a lot of germs, it's not quite as effective against norovirus.
Oh, really?
Norovirus is quite a tough little virus.
Right.
It's got a structure that makes it resistant to alcohol-based sanitizers. So while hand sanitizer is definitely better than nothing,
Yeah.
soap and water is the most reliable way to actually wash away those viral particles.
Right. Message received. Get
Yeah.
soap and water, it is.
Yeah.
What else can we do to minimize our risk?
Well, disinfecting surfaces regularly is really important,
Okay.
especially if someone in your household has been sick.
Right.
Use a bleach-based cleaner that's most effective against norovirus
Okay.
and focus on high-touch surfaces
Mm-hmm.
like doorknobs, light switches, countertops.
Oh, and your phone.
Your phone, yeah, absolutely.
Clean needs a good clean.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people forget about their phone.
What if someone in my house actually does get sick with norovirus?
Okay.
What should we do?
Well, if someone in your household comes down with it, try to isolate them as much as possible
Okay.
to prevent further spread.
Right.
keep their dishes and laundry separate, and avoid close contact.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the basics, symptoms, how it spreads, how to prevent it. You mentioned earlier a clip from a BBC health segment.
Right.
They had some interesting advice.
Yeah.
And they even addressed this concept of a quadruple-demic.
Quadruple-demic, yeah.
Which sounds pretty scary.
It does sound a bit scary, doesn't it?
Yeah. Along with this norovirus surge, we're also seeing cases of RSV, the flu, and COVID-19 circulating.
Yeah, all happening at the same time.
It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, it's putting a strain on healthcare systems as well.
Yeah, no wonder everyone seems to be feeling a bit under the weather.
It's not surprising, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to that BBC segment. They had this doctor on, Dr. Kieran.
Oh, right.
Who offered some specific tips for dealing with norovirus.
Yeah.
Anything particularly stand out to you?
One thing that I thought was really interesting was her advice to avoid ibuprofen for managing symptoms.
Okay.
Instead, she suggested trying ginger biscuits.
Ginger biscuits.
Which can be quite soothing for the stomach.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ginger's been used as a natural remedy for nausea and vomiting for a long time, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It's believed to calm the stomach muscles and reduce inflammation.
Okay.
So it's sort of a gentler option than just like bland broth.
Yeah, a bit tastier as well.
Yeah.
So we'll be sure to include a link to that BBC Morning Live episode in the show notes.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to learn more.
Good idea.
While we're talking about managing symptoms.
Yeah.
It is important to remember that while norovirus is typically mild and clears up on its own.
Yeah.
Some people are more susceptible to complications.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned young children and older adults before. Who else should be extra careful?
So anyone who's pregnant, people with weakened immune systems, and those with underlying health conditions should definitely take extra precautions.
Right.
And look, if you're ever concerned about your symptoms or the symptoms of a loved one, don't hesitate to reach out to your doctor.
Always good advice. Okay, so quick recap.
Yeah.
We've learned about this new Kawasaki variant that's contributing to the surge, talked about symptoms and how it spreads, discussed ways to treat the symptoms, and importantly, how to prevent getting sick in the first place.
Absolutely.
And we even touched on this quadruple-demic and how it might impact our choices this season.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot there.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
We have, yeah.
I think it's time to dig a little deeper.
I agree.
Let's get into some of those less talked about ways to protect ourselves.
Okay. Yeah.
What are some of the things that people might not immediately think of?
Well, one aspect that I think often gets overlooked is the importance of maintaining a strong immune system.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A healthy body is going to be better equipped to fight off any infection.
Exactly.
Including norovirus.
Yeah, it's like having a well-trained army ready to defend you.
I like that.
And the best part is, a lot of the things that we already know we should be doing for our overall health, they also benefit our immune systems.
So things like eating a balanced diet and getting enough sleep.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A diet full of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Gives your body the nutrients that it needs, including those immune-boosting vitamins and minerals.
And sleep is crucial, right?
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
When you're sleep deprived, your immune system takes a hit.
Right.
And that makes you much more susceptible to infections.
I'm all about prioritizing sleep.
Good.
What else can we do?
Regular exercise.
Okay.
Another key factor. It improves your circulation.
Right.
Which allows those immune cells to move around more efficiently and do their job.
Okay. So far, we've got healthy diet, enough sleep, and regular exercise. All good stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing too surprising there, though.
Right.
Give me something unexpected.
Okay.
A less obvious immune booster.
How about managing stress?
Stress? Really?
Wow.
I mean, I know chronic stress isn't good for us in general, but how does it actually affect our immune system?
So when you're stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol.
Okay.
Small doses of cortisol are fine, helpful even. They help us respond to threats. But chronic stress keeps those cortisol levels elevated.
Okay.
And that can actually suppress your immune system and make you more vulnerable to infections.
Wow. I had no idea stress had such a direct impact.
It does.
On immunity.
Yeah.
So what's the antidote? Yoga, meditation, long walks in nature.
All excellent options.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
Okay.
Finding healthy ways to manage stress is so vital for both your mental and physical well-being.
Yeah.
So explore different techniques, see what works best for you,
Yeah.
whether it's mindfulness, deep breathing, time in nature,
Right.
or just taking a few minutes each day to unwind.
Stress management, officially added to my immune-boosting toolkit. Okay, so what other less talked about strategies can we use to keep this norovirus at bay?
Well, think about where this virus thrives.
Okay.
We know it spreads easily in crowded, enclosed spaces.
Right.
So one simple but really effective strategy is to be mindful of ventilation.
Ventilation?
Yeah.
You mean like opening windows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Letting in fresh air.
Right.
Good ventilation helps to dilute the concentration of viral particles in the air,
Okay.
making transmission less likely.
So whenever possible, choose well-ventilated spaces.
Yeah.
Or take steps to improve ventilation yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say open those windows, even if it's a bit chilly.
Yeah.
Fresh air's worth it.
Fresh air is worth it.
What else can we do?
Yeah.
Here's one that's especially relevant as we head into the holiday season.
Okay.
Be cautious about shared food and drinks.
Oh, good point.
Yeah,
Holiday parties and potlucks are prime breeding grounds for norovirus, aren't they?
they are.
Yeah.
You've got lots of people, close quarters, sharing food. It's perfect for a virus to spread.
Ugh, that's not a picture I wanted in my head.
No.
So extra precautions are a must if you're at one of those gatherings.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Frequent hand washing,
Mm-hmm.
being careful about shared food,
Right.
and using hand sanitizer regularly are all good ideas.
Okay.
And if you do start to feel sick, tell the host right away.
Yeah,
Catching things early can really help prevent a bigger outbreak.
that's a good point.
Right.
So what about in our own homes? Are there any, less obvious strategies we can use there?
One thing that often gets overlooked is our laundry habits.
Laundry. How does that play into preventing norovirus?
Well, remember, this virus is very resilient.
Mm-hmm.
It can stay on surfaces, including fabrics,
Right.
for a surprisingly long time.
Okay.
So if someone in your house has been sick, it's crucial to wash their clothes, towels, bedding separately
Right.
in hot water and with bleach if possible.
Hot water and bleach. Okay. What about items that can't be washed in hot water? Like delicates or certain types of bedding?
That's a great question. And for those items, I would say try a laundry sanitizer
Okay.
or add a cup of white vinegar to the rinse cycle.
Oh.
Vinegar's got antimicrobial properties,
Right.
and it can help to neutralize the virus.
And what about your washing machine itself?
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
After washing contaminated laundry, run an empty cycle with hot water and bleach
Okay.
just to disinfect the machine
Right.
and prevent cross-contamination.
Oh, that's a step I often forget.
Yeah, it's easy to forget.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other laundry tips?
I'd say when you're handling contaminated laundry, wear gloves
Okay.
just to protect your hands.
Right.
And avoid shaking out the laundry before washing it.
Okay.
That can release viral particles into the air.
Handle with care.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else we haven't covered yet?
Let's talk about hand drying.
Oh, okay.
So we know hand washing is essential,
Mm-hmm.
but the way we dry our hands can actually make a difference as well. Really? I always thought as long as your hands got dry, it didn't really matter how.
Yeah, a lot of people think that, but while drying your hands is definitely better than not drying them,
Right.
some methods are better than others at removing germs.
Okay.
Studies have shown that paper towels are more effective than air dryers at removing bacteria and viruses from hands.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, the friction from rubbing your hands with a paper towel seems to physically remove more germs,
Okay.
whereas air dryers can actually blow those tiny viral particles back into the air.
Oh,
and
right.
They can land on surfaces or be breathed in by others.
Okay, I'm a paper towel convert now.
Good?
What about those fancy hand dryers
Yeah.
that claim to be super hygienic?
Some of the newer models have HEPA filters,
Right.
which can trap some germs.
Okay.
But in general, I think paper towels are still considered the gold standard.
Paper towels it is.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot here. Boosting our immune systems, thinking about ventilation, being careful with shared food, laundry habits, even hand drying techniques.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing how many less obvious factors can influence our risk of getting norovirus.
Yeah, I think it's about all those little things adding up to create a layer of protection.
Yeah,
And it's a reminder that prevention is an ongoing process, right?
right.
It's not just something we do when we hear about an outbreak.
It's about making healthy habits a part of our everyday lives.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's the key. takeaway.
Okay, so before we move on to our last segment,
Yeah.
where we'll delve into some even more intriguing aspects of norovirus,
Oh, great.
I do want to acknowledge that all this talk about viruses and germs can be a bit overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in worrying about every surface and every person that we encounter.
Right. So while it's crucial to be informed and take precautions, it's equally important to keep things in perspective.
Informed, but not fearful.
Exactly.
How do we find that balance?
It's about focusing on what we can control.
Yeah.
Like our own hygiene habits.
Right.
And accepting that we can't control everything. We can't live in a bubble.
Right.
And trying to probably do more harm than good for our mental and emotional well-being.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot between being cautious and still living our lives.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you ready to explore some of the more fascinating and perhaps even surprising aspects of norovirus?
Let's do it.
All right, bring on the intrigue.
I like it. Welcome back to our deep dive on norovirus.
I'm ready to jump back in.
Yeah.
We were about to get into some of the more intriguing things about norovirus.
Right.
The stuff that's not always front page news.
Yeah.
So what have you got for us?
One thing that always fascinates me is how these viruses evolve.
Okay.
You know, these tiny organisms, they're constantly adapting and changing.
Okay, viral evolution.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of complex.
It is, yeah.
But I'm curious.
Okay.
Explain it to me like I'm 5, but maybe a smart 5-year-old.
A smart 5-year-old.
Okay.
So imagine viruses like tiny little machines that are constantly making copies of themselves.
Right.
And sometimes during that copying process, little mistakes happen.
Like typos.
Like typos, yeah, in their instruction manual.
Right.
And most of the time, these typos are harmless.
Okay.
Or even bad for the virus.
Right.
But every now and then,
Yeah.
a mistake happens that actually gives the virus an edge.
What kind of edge?
Well, maybe it makes the virus more contagious.
Okay.
Or better at hiding from our immune systems.
Right.
Or even tougher to kill with disinfectants.
Oh, wow.
So those viruses with the lucky typos are the ones that survive and spread.
Survival of the fittest, but on a microscopic level.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And over time, those beneficial mistakes become more common in the virus population, right?
Yeah.
Leading to new variants.
Exactly.
Like this Kawasaki variant.
Precisely. Yeah. So this whole norovirus surge could be...
Because of a few tiny typos in the virus's code.
It's possible. Yeah.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is there to know about this virus
Right.
that we might not have heard before?
Well, here's another intriguing fact. Norovirus is incredibly tough.
Okay.
We talked about how it can survive on surfaces for a long time.
Yeah.
But did you know it can also withstand freezing temperatures?
Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
I thought freezing was supposed to kill germs.
Well, it does for a lot of germs, but norovirus has this really protective protein shell
Okay.
that helps it survive in some pretty harsh conditions.
So even chlorinated water.
Even chlorinated water, yeah.
So that frozen dinner in my freezer might not be as safe as I thought.
Well, cooking your food thoroughly to a high temperature is still one of the best ways to kill norovirus.
Okay.
But you're right, it's a good reminder that this virus can hang on in conditions where other germs wouldn't.
Okay, I'm definitely going to be extra careful with those leftovers from now on.
Good idea.
Any other norovirus surprises?
This one might make you think twice about your next vacation.
Uh-oh.
Norovirus is infamous for causing outbreaks on cruise ships.
Oh, no, not the cruise ship outbreaks.
Yeah.
I've heard those stories are awful.
They're not fun.
Why are cruise ships such breeding grounds for norovirus?
Well, think about it. You have a lot of people in very close quarters.
Right.
Sharing meals, using the same bathrooms, touching the same surfaces.
Yeah.
It's just the perfect environment for a virus to spread.
It's not a picture I want in my head.
No, it's not ideal.
So if you are cruising, extra precautions are a must.
Definitely.
Yeah. Frequent hand washing, being careful about shared food, and using hand sanitizer regularly.
All good ideas.
Okay.
And if you do start to feel sick, tell the ship's medical staff right away.
Right.
Catching things early can really help prevent a bigger outbreak.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Hopefully I won't be needing it anytime soon.
Fingers crossed.
So I've covered viral evolution, how tough norovirus is in those cruise ship situations.
Yeah.
Anything else we should know?
One last thing I want to mention is that while we've focused on the downsides of norovirus,
Right.
there's actually a lot of research going on right now, looking for new treatments and even vaccines.
Vaccines for norovirus?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
It would be a game changer.
Tell me more.
Well, it's still early stages,
Okay.
but Scientists are working on developing vaccines that could give us long-lasting protection against this virus.
Wow.
They're also working on antiviral drugs
Right.
that could potentially help lessen the severity of the illness
Okay.
and how long you're sick for.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, it is promising.
It's always impressive how scientists are tackling these health challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
So while we need to be careful and take preventative measures now,
Mm-hmm.
there's hope for a future where norovirus isn't such a big problem.
Absolutely. I think there is.
And in the meantime, we can all do our part by staying informed, practicing good hygiene, and incorporating those healthy habits into our daily lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, I think we've pretty much covered norovirus from top to bottom.
I think so.
We've gone through the basics of what it is, as well as some of the less obvious and sometimes even a bit scary aspects.
A bit scary, yeah.
I think we talked about a range of preventative strategies,
Yeah.
those tried and true methods, as well as some that might not be as obvious,
Right.
but are equally important.
Absolutely. I think it's all about finding what works for you and your lifestyle.
And we've even touched on those exciting research developments that offer hope for a future with fewer norovirus outbreaks.
I mean, it is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
To learn about all the ongoing efforts to combat these infectious diseases.
Yeah.
And it does give us hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're not powerless against these tiny but impactful organisms.
Exactly. And remember, listeners, we'll have links to all the sources that we've mentioned in the show notes, so you can check them out.
As always, we encourage you to share your thoughts,
Yeah.
questions, or any insights you may have.
Absolutely. We appreciate hearing from you.
And learning from your perspectives.
Exactly. Yeah. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
Until next time, stay healthy, take care,
Yeah.
and don't forget to wash those hands. Welcome back. Ready to wrap up our deep dive on norovirus?
I think so, yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but I'm eager to hear what else you've dug up about this tricky virus.
Okay, well, we've talked about the Kawasaki variant, how tough this virus is,
Right.
and how easily it can spread,
Yeah.
especially in places like cruise ships.
Yeah.
But now I want to shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about something a little different,
Okay.
the human element.
The human element. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've focused a lot on the biology of norovirus, right? But outbreaks are also influenced by human behavior and social factors.
Oh, that's an interesting angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see how things like travel patterns, social gatherings, even cultural norms could play a role.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, think about how holiday gatherings bring people together.
Okay.
Often indoors, in close proximity, sharing food and drink.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the perfect environment for norovirus to spread.
Yeah.
And in some cultures, it's even considered rude to refuse food or drink offered to you,
Right.
even if you're not feeling well.
That's a great point. Yeah, social customs could definitely influence
It could, yeah.
how quickly a virus spreads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there other examples of how human behavior affects outbreaks?
Loads. I mean, think about hand washing.
Okay. Yeah.
We know it's one of the best ways to prevent transmission.
Yeah.
But not everyone washes their hands as often.
Right.
Or as thoroughly as they should.
It's true.
And let's be honest, sometimes we all get a little lax about it when we're in a hurry or just not paying attention.
Hand washing fatigue is a real thing.
It is, yeah.
Are there other aspects of human behavior that researchers are looking at?
Yeah, they're looking at how quickly people seek medical attention when they're sick.
Okay.
Because if someone tries to tough it out and continues to go to work or school while they're contagious, they're obviously more likely to spread the virus.
Yeah.
And delaying medical care can also increase the risk of complications,
Right.
especially for those who are more vulnerable.
So it's really a combination of biology and behavior that determines how these outbreaks play out.
Exactly. We can't forget that human factor when we're trying to understand and control these infectious diseases.
This has been such an informative deep dive.
It has been, hasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like I've learned so much, not just about norovirus itself, but also about how interconnected everything is.
Yeah.
From our own habits to viral evolution to global travel patterns.
It all ties in.
It's a lot to think about.
It is, yeah.
So where do we go from here? What can our listeners do with all this information?
Well, first and foremost, don't panic.
Right.
Norovirus is unpleasant.
Yeah.
But for most healthy individuals, it's a relatively mild and short-lived illness.
Okay.
The key is to be informed.
Right.
Take those preventative measures we talked about and make those healthy habits a part of your everyday life.
It's all about those small, consistent actions.
It is, yeah.
Adding up over time.
Little things make a big difference.
And research is constantly evolving, right?
Absolutely.
Scientists are working hard to develop new treatments and vaccines for norovirus.
So there's definitely reason to be optimistic about the future.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we'll keep you updated on any breaking news and developments.
We will.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and keep those hands clean.